As the dust settles after the group stage, 5 Danes, 5 Swedes, 5 Finns, 3 Danes, and 2 Germans still stand tall. Today, we'll see 3 best-of-3s, and when all is said and done, one of our 4 teams will be sent home, while 2 others will be within touching distance of that coveted major spot. Welcome to the penultimate day of CSGO action for this minor cycle. We're here with the European minor live from Twickenham, and my name is Trace Saranthus. You might know me as Stunna, and well, with that, now you're meeting the rest of my desk as we try to dissect what is sure to be another flourishing day of European Counter-Strike here at the minor. Of course, to my right will be Sponge, and then to his right will be Maniac. Guys, thus far, what has surprised you the most?
I think what we need to have now is a Nordic minor, and then the rest of Europe.
Makes sense.
Yeah, we got our 4 Nordic teams here in the playoff stage. A Swedish team, I guess 2 Danish teams, and a Finnish team. So, look, I think it's kind of gone as expected. There's been some closer matches. There's been some comebacks. There's been some resilience shown. But the better teams are where they need to be. Probably on paper, the one that's standing out as an enigma or more of a surprise factor, maybe Sprout. But that group really didn't really go as many people were expecting, with Kingwin falling flat and Red Reserve unable to convert there against NIP in the later stages of the evening.
Well, what I want to do is I want to take a few seconds here to just kind of get a message across to all the viewers at home. It's something very, very important that I felt like needed to be said now rather than later. Go on your favorite social media platforms and use hashtag FACEITMinor to talk about Chad's shirt. Now, Chad has never worn this shirt on broadcast. He actually just purchased it, I think, probably 30 minutes before we had to come in this morning. It seemed like a rush purchase, but nonetheless, what do we think about Chad's shirt, Maniac? Is this one of those things where you're kind of like, wow, that's really nice, man?
No, I actually like it. I think the color is fine. The pattern on it is nice. No, I validate it. It has my approval. Completely.
Nice. That's the Swiss approval, and you can't top that, can you, Chad?
If anything, the biggest problem with me right now is how white my face looks to my arms. I don't look like the same person. I look like it's a different head on someone else's body.
An interesting prospect you have there, Chad. Seems like your imagination sometimes runs away with itself. Kind of like these brackets and how they're running away with themselves as well. It's almost come down to the wire here at the European minor. We can take a look at Group A, and I can tell you right now that Optic and Ence have toppled this group, both from the upper bracket and the lower bracket. Wasn't so easy for Ence, but they did manage to find that spot at the end. Now, if we take a look at Group B, which played out yesterday, Kingwin, Sprout, Nip, Red Reserve, those are the names you're going to note. And then it's going to be Sprout and Nip that found their way all the way to the end. But a huge highlight there would be Red Reserve and the tenacity and some of the showing that they had here in the minor, even though they didn't qualify for these final brackets that you see now, which encompass Ence, Sprout, Optic Gaming, and the Ninjas in Pajamas. Now, guys, that we have our final brackets set, we've got Ence and Sprout. It's going to be our first game. Let's begin to talk a little bit about these final brackets and perhaps anything you noted up to.
I think it's going to be a test for both Optic and Sprout in a way, because Optic had such an easy, obviously they were tested a little bit by Ence in that final, but they've only had to play 2 best-of-1s at this point, and the same for Sprout. Now with Sprout, we noted in their first game against Kingwin that it was closer than the scoreline said, and then in their second matchup against NIP it was in overtime. So they're still yet to really be tested or really be put through their paces in a best-of-3 scenario, and that's going to be one of the big factors as we kick off today, to see where they're at, see where their map pools are at, and to see how they've settled into this tournament.
Maniac, what do you got?
No, I think I agree. The teams that have gone through only playing 2 best-of-1s, it's obviously going to be a bigger test going into best-of-3s, playing more maps. I think Optic must be pretty confident. I think they have a very deep map pool, very stable game style. But for Sprout, really, I think it's going to be a big test. Obviously, the big factor for them going into this bracket was the clutches, their ability to clutch rounds that they were not really supposed to win. But where do they stand in terms of map pool? How deep is their playbook?
Yep.
That's going to be the questions, I think, going into the playoffs.
Well, a lot of questions could be answered, but it's not going to be exactly by us. We did get a chance to hear from some of the teams and learn more about these teams, rather, I should say, going into today's matchups.
Ence pulled out of Group A after victories over 2 French sides in 3D Max and Left Out. Sergey and Alu pulled out ahead of the pack, but will it be easy for Ence as they go up against their next opponent, Sprout? Sprout come out on top of Group B after 2 convincing wins against Kingwin and Ninjas in Pajamas. The side looked on dominant form as Dennis and Speedy turned up to play, but will it be enough to take down the Finnish side of Ence?
Almost as telling as the Egyptian pyramids in Giza. Now, talking about those pyramids has absolutely nothing to do with this, but I do have a friend that is on the cusp of going to Egypt. He's trying to back out. It's kind of sad. Anyway, let's move on and talk about important stuff right now. Let's talk about Sprout.
You want to just start with the guys, the 2 Germans and the 3 Danes coming together right now to surprise everybody. And as you can see, if you follow Nato on any form of social media, he's very surprised with how they keep performing well, I suppose, is the sentiment coming out of him. Now, if you look at this, they've only had to play the 2 best of ones. They did have a really, I guess, crisp showing with an interesting map pick against Kingwood to kick off the tournament, a nuke where they had lost twice to that team online, but on land they didn't have too many difficulties looking like them in the driver's seat the entire time. And then against NIP, another game where it felt they had a commanding lead, it fell away, and then they had to pick up their socks or pull up their socks in overtime and then take the victory over one of the more favored squads.
That shot was disgusting.
Yeah, I think maybe we need to note the fact that Spiddy and Dennis are in the top 5 players from this tournament statistically at the moment. So not a huge sample size, but good to see the Germans performing to a level we know they can.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for a team that young, this is kind of a young roster. Obviously, Dennis and Speedy have played at the top or close to the top level of Counter-Strike. But I was impressed at how calm they stayed against NIP. Obviously, as you said, they had the lead, then NIP claimed back. And I thought maybe they would crumble under the pressure. But no, they actually stayed the course. They won very important clutches. They won the overtime in a pretty comfortable position. So I am impressed at how calm they can stay, being that young roster.
Composure is a big part of these matches, especially when you get closer and closer to what your goal is, which is to qualify for this major. And if you're a young player, it's not always that easy to keep your hands from being sweaty and your arms feeling like spaghetti.
Yeah, I think people at home may not really understand the context of playing at a major. It is the pinnacle of the CSGO calendar. These are the events that everybody wants to attend. This is the endorsed by Valve. This is what has been looked at and has been, potentially the crowning factor for if you've made it as a professional player. And if you can get to a major, if you can play in a major, that's a dream for a lot of players out there.
Here's a dream for you. Chad, what would it take for you to do the exact same thing here that Natusfix is saying?
Well,
because I will dye my hair green if Sprout qualify to the major with me. Now, first of all, Betway, good job on putting the green there. I think it was really eloquently done, really well done. But Chad, what would it take to get you to do this?
So we actually, when we were in Vox Seminole and we were playing in the early majors, we said to each other that if we ever made it to the top 8 of a major, that we would get Vox Seminole tattoos. Because to make it top 8 at a major meant you'd have legend status, and that would kind of propel you. And this is back when we were semi-professionals as opposed to professionals. So this is it's pretty wild. I don't think dyeing your hair is too crazy. You just wash it out.
Shaving your head.
Risk. I wouldn't do that. So I respect the risk he's taking.
You and I would struggle though. We'd have to go a darker color.
Yeah. But it's still sacred to me. I wouldn't touch my hair for anything, I think.
Some people.
I waxed my legs for 2,000 pounds for November,
yeah. And honestly, that's a good reason. I think a good reason enough. But shaving your head, now that is no joke. Now, Chad, what would it take to get you to shave your head live on air today?
Probably $1 million.
Anything less than that?
No,
I don't think that's quite in the budget. So
that's where we're setting the bar.
Okay. Well, I tried, and perhaps if that does happen, we will use hashtag FACEIT. There's absolutely no way we can't. You have to at that point, right, Maniac?
Absolutely. If that happens,
you have to use the hashtag.
You have to use the hashtag.
Just makes sense.
Full sellout. But I don't even think people would recognize you, Chad.
With the shaved head. The same when I get rid of the beard. It hasn't even been there for that long, but I'm sure if I get rid of it, people would be shocked at what my face looks like.
What if you did both? Shave your head, shave the beard, and we shave this conversation away. We do have an interview. Freya the Slayer is down on the floor with Natu, the man himself behind Ence. Let's hear what they have to say.
Thank you very much, Stunner. Yes, I'm here with Natu from Ence. So you guys had a day free of games yesterday. Did this give the team a good amount of time to prepare for today?
Yeah, actually, we took the early part of the day off. Kind of just everyone got to do what they wanted to. Went to the gym or just watching some TV series and stuff, get their mind off for a little bit, and then we had practice in the evening and started focusing on today.
So is there anything you were particularly focusing on, knowing that your opponents were Sprout?
We'll practice against them, and we'll play in the close qualifier against them. So we have a pretty good idea of how they like to play and what kind of brand of Counter-Strike they showcase. So I feel like we're solid.
Because you guys had a pretty convincing win over them in the European close qualifier. I believe it was 2-0. So does that give you more confidence coming into this game?
I feel like we're confident in any game, honestly. I think the way this team has been built is around playing good, solid, fundamentally good Counter-Strike. And if we keep on doing that, if we hit our shots, if we communicate well, I feel like we're in a good position on winning any game we play.
because Sergey had a really amazing series on the first day of the European Minors. What is his role within the team, and how has it developed since he's joined?
I think actually, like if you think about it, he was away from the game for a few months. You know, he sort of quit the game at 15 to come back at 16, right? Which is funny enough. I think he's just definitely finding his pace once again, and he's really good at lurking. He's really good at playing like a stationary killing machine on the CT side, as we saw on the game in Inferno in day one. I mean, he just keeps on being better every single day. You know, I think for 16 years old, he's very mature. He keeps his composure really well. So I'm just looking forward to how he's going to grow going forward.
So do you think because he's such a young player coming back in so young, do you think he's got that potential to develop?
100%. I feel like he's going to be a monster down the line, and that's a scary prospect for anyone that has to play against him.
Thank you so much. We're going to head back over to the analyst desk.
Thank you, Freya. Now, we heard from Natu there. It's about building on the fundamentals, the building blocks of any team that is trying to approach this game properly. Guys, what do you take away from what Natu said?
You can definitely see it in their game plan, right? And their style and approach. It isn't like they're doing anything crazy outside of the box. They're not doing like gamble stacks on bomb sites or gimmicky strategies. They're doing the basics well, and within that, they kind of get a chance to let their stars thrive. Sergey being one of those names that is obviously on the top of the tongue, and then you've got the likes of Alu in there. Alexi's had his moments, of Ariel and X7 as well. So these guys, having built such a good base, it's not just run around and hope to find the kills. There's a plan. There's a bit of a method to the madness, and they've definitely impressed me throughout Cologne and the early stages of this minor, Trace.
Yeah, Cologne definitely was a statement event for this team, and right now they're in a good spot to qualify for this minor.
Oh yes, for sure. Based on what we've seen, to me they are one of the clear favorites.
Yeah.
And also I think it's not easy at all to confirm when you have such a big tournament. I mean, when they go to Cologne, they come back from Cologne having impressed everyone. It's not always easy to confirm it in the next tournament. I think so far they've done it. And I agree with Chad. I think they have very good fundamentals. I've seen a lot of diversity and maturity in their game. They're able to change the pace, play slow or like map control, or play fast and execute style. I also think they have a good distribution of frags in the team. Of course, we mentioned Sergey just because of his power, so impressive. But I don't think he has so much individual pressure, because I think other players like Alu, even Alexi, even Ariga has a good rating right now in the tournament. So really a good, well-rounded team that is extremely impressive to me at the moment.
We can take a look at their results over the past 3 months, both LAN and online. And about these numbers, I mean, are there some maps that we shouldn't be looking for versus what we should expect them to play into going into this best of 3 today?
I suppose if we look at the online qualifier for this event where they played each other, the maps that were played in this order were Dustu, which was picked by Ence, Train, which was picked by Sprout, and the third map decided was Inferno. It didn't need to go the distance. Ence were able to get it done in 2. Now, if you keep that in mind, the team who won that series is normally happy for the veto to trickle in a similar way. They don't feel the need to pull out too many cards out of their back pocket, so they're more than able to just be feeling in control of the veto when you win so comfortably. On the other side of things, this is a chance for Sprout to do what I feel they did in the opening matchup against Kingwin and put something through that they have practiced a lot and prepared a lot for. Now, yesterday, I was going up to my room after one of the series, and I was behind 2 of the guys from Sprout. I believe it was Cycron and the coach, and they were talking about, they were already talking about prep, and this was at 6 o'clock, and their game had only finished like an hour or 2 hours before that. So they started very early, so I think they're going to prepare a big game plan here.
It's a super cool thing to see that hunger within players, and sometimes it kind of fades. Sometimes I believe players might lose sight of that, unfortunately, and that kind of turns into a downfall. But one downfall that has not happened here is this head-to-head. We can talk about these next 2 players, in Dennis and Sergey. Now, Sergey being this sort of prodigy, being this sort of player that is standout, what is there to say on the Dennis side, though?
Well, Dennis has been around the scene for quite a long time. He was participating in the early majors. He's played for a Mousesports roster with Nico over the years, and now he's kind of been, well, not thrown out into obscurity. He's had the chance to build back into a team, and that's what Sprout is. And in this tournament, in the 2 maps that they've played, he is actually the 2nd highest rated player in the tournament. Now, the reason that we're bringing him up in the head-to-head is we know that Sergey can deliver. We've known that now for a decent chunk of time because he's played consistently throughout Cologne and now here. Dennis, obviously, we haven't got the chance to see as much. He needs to continue the form that he had yesterday, carry that through to today, because Ence here are on paper the favorites.
I agree. I think it's very interesting to see Dennis finding sort of a second life, so to say.
Yeah.
Because his time wasn't easy when he was removed from Mousesports, and now he really feels like back in Sprout, he's finding a second breath. And I think under the in-game leading of Synchron, he's flourishing. He's feeling great, playing with his buddy Speedy. So he's been impressive this tournament.
It's been impressive this tournament, to say the least, and in fact, this entire roster on both sides, I feel like have had a good showing here. A statement event for both Sprout and, well, I'd say Cologne is more of a statement event for Ence.
Yeah.
But either way, it looks like they've made a statement.
Yeah, but both teams have kind of suffered similar issues. I think if you look at both games where Sprout was in control yesterday, they should have closed out a little bit earlier, especially in that second game against NIP. And then if you look at the same thing for Ence when they played against 3D Max in their lower bracket run to close out the day, they were in control the entire time. So for Ence, I feel they were relieved to get through and finish those matches when they did. It kind of was just going through the motions and the paces. And then with Sprout, on the other hand, they did talk about in a pre-game interview yesterday that they do have trouble closing out those games. They talk a lot about silly rounds or losing stupid rounds, and that isn't something that can happen here for Sprout more so than Ence, I feel. Ence have the opportunity to grind, where Sprout in this matchup really need to grab any opportunities they're given, like that clutch situation that Spitty had yesterday, and they need to turn them around and close them because it's going to be difficult for them. It's more of an uphill battle for them, I think.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. I also feel watching Ence playing, even though they had obviously struggles, they lost one map against Optic, it feels like they are in control and they are playing their 100%. They're not playing 150%. They're doing what they're supposed to do. They're following their fundamentals.
Never
go with the veto.
Yes, map vetoes. It is time. This is a best of 3 to determine the winner between Ence and Sprout. And the first ban coming out is going to be Keish.
Overpass was the ban from Sprout when they played online. I think they'll probably, go in a similar direction to that, but it's the picks here that are more interesting. Obviously, if you're Ence, you're happy to pick Dust 2 again, but Sprout have shown they know how to play it, so that might come through as the third map. I think Ence may pick an Inferno, and it is just going to be Dust 2. Okay.
Inferno,
the Sprout pick, I would be really happy if they'd pick Nuke, because yesterday they looked solid on it. I know it was a lot of post-plan situations, but they looked like they had the base down on their CT side with rotations, and that could be one of those picks to catch Ence off guard, maybe?
Well, I think... okay, this is interesting, because these players from Ence, they all have played Nuke with former team and former rosters. I've played against them many times. They definitely know how to play the map, so I don't know if this pick is going to backfire on Sprout.
Yeah.
So it might seem like Ence is not ready on Nuke, but I definitely feel like, at least individually, the players know the map.
Well, historically, Finnish teams have some really good highlights on Nuke, and you're thinking all the way back to 1.6 with the likes of Nato and Lurpus and Co still playing. But for this to come out, Danish teams are normally really good on that map. You look towards the best teams in the world, normally Danish teams, and Sprout are majority Danish, and it's going to be Train as the third. So the difference this time round is it was Inferno as the third when they played online, and Train was the second map, which was the pick of Sprout. So they're trying a different tack this time round, Trace.
Dust 2, Nuke, and Train to decide who moves on and who just has a really, really bad start to their day. Does this favor one team rather than the other right away, from a general overview?
I think like Ence going with their comfort pick of Dust 2, we saw them get tested on it a little bit. They got pushed almost to the limits. But I think the veto, we were always putting stock in Ence having more, depth to their map pool. So for them, regardless of the maps coming out, I was always going to be leaning in their direction.
Okay. Well, you know what I'm leaning towards doing right now is kind of instructing you at home one more time. Head over to faceitmajor.com/giveaway. And you don't want to be left out of this one. See what I did there?
I get it.
It wasn't that good. But nonetheless, make sure that you go ahead and get involved and perhaps even sign up because, for all intents and purposes, what can they win, Chad?
Well, there's multiple things you can win. I think if you do the giveaway portion of the website, you can win 2 million FACEIT points. Also, if you're watching on YouTube and you hook that up with your FACEIT account, you can get drops while watching, just like a major. But this is FACEIT points where you can head to the FACEIT store and you can buy fun things.
And you say drops as if it's just a casual thing that we just do around here, as if we just give away 100,000 points, as if it's like winning lottery, which is exactly what just happened. If you snoozed on the giveaway all week long, you messed up because Tom with the face, damn, what kind of face is that?
That's like the...
It's a bored face or stupidity face.
Like I have no emotion face or I'm sleeping face.
Did I really win this? I actually did.
Well, actually, Tom, you did win this. You just won 100,000 FACEIT points. Congratulations. And I think if that doesn't entice you to sign up for the giveaway, what the hell is going to?
I want my cut, Tom. I want my cut.
Okay, and we're going to cut that right there. Let's talk about some predictions before we get into this game, guys. It's just about that time.
As much as I sometimes fly the German flag because I'm a resident now, I think I'm going to have to lean towards Ence. Their base of fundamentals, I think, is too strong. I can't see the individuals from Sprout stepping up and winning constant clutch situations, which was a big part of their win conditions yesterday. I'd like to have faith that they did prep a really good game plan, but I think Ence are going to weather the storm and take this one 2-0.
I have to agree. The analyst in me says Ence should take this. Sprout are on a little bit of a bubble here, like a fairy tale. Maybe that can push them to play at the 200% of their level, and then they take it. But I have to go with Ence.
Yeah, and I think it's just it's one of those things where the fundamentals, like you're saying, plus the fact that it's just easy for Ence. And another couple that it's easy for are a commentary duo who are ready to take us into the game. It's none other than Beavis and Butthead. Take it away, guys.
Didn't really stick the landing on that one. He tried his best.
No, didn't even watch that show. That show was horrible.
Yeah, it wasn't great, was it?
It was actually really bad.
It was definition of an era that wasn't very good for comedy.
Yeah.
Anyway, shall we get into our first best of three of the day? We've got 3 of them to come. This is the first. We've reset the bracket now. This is the quarterfinals, I guess, technically. We've got the playoffs here. It's going to be Sprout versus Ence. And I agree with the analysts. I feel like Ence are the favourites here. I feel like their firepower and their fundamentals, the basics they've got, really are higher than Sprout. I think Sprout have been performing above their level, and they've looked great. To be fair, Dennis has had an amazing tournament. Hopefully he can perform at that level. We get a good game. But for me, it's 2-0 Ence.
Yeah, I definitely lean toward them. Look, the way they performed in Cologne, obviously, Alu mentioned that. Was it Alu or was it Ariel? I can't remember who it was in the interview that said, obviously, after the way they performed in Cologne, it's tough to be here. You could take that title either way, certainly. But yeah, they've got better fundamentals. They've got players like Sergey that have been absolutely amazing and shocking, and have Alu at the helm. Nato's fix has been pretty decent as well, to be fair. I wasn't expecting much from him coming over from the streaming side of things, but he's done quite well in this event. He started off with the first kill. It will still be him struggling desperately to get back in toward the site. Watch the lurk as well. Alu's working out from lower tunnels. If he pushes Catwalk at the right time, he'll happily collect a few kills. He may not need to. I think at this point he's hoping he can hold off as they try and struggle and get caught out. And he doesn't need to at all anyway because Ariel and 7 get the kills. Now Alu arrives and says, well done, boys.
Very nice stuff there from Ence. That's a very nice default pistol. A lot of teams will run that. If you get the decent long spawn, you go flashing over, try and challenge that kill. They don't lose a single frag there either. They managed to get the first long. They managed to cross over with the flashbang, the smoke there. You could see it was all prepared. It was all by design, and they managed to have Alu lurking in lower B. They actually spotted him as well, but he just didn't show. He just made them panic. The fact that someone was lower slowed them down 5 or 6 seconds as buying time for that plant. They didn't even have to go for him. They had to forget about Alu, and he manages to set his teammates up for a nice clean sweep. We're not going to see the full investment here from Sprout, though. You can see 2 players have gone for the Force Buy with armor. That's going to be Percy and Dennis. The rest of them, though, keeping their money around $1,000. Remember, Sprout do like to run a double AWP setup. You'll see Nato, Sapphics as the main AWP, then the other guys can join in as well. We saw Dennis even using the AWP at times, which actually looked pretty promising. Either way, Sergey, the absolute wonder child of CSGO right now, 16 years of age and looking absolutely phenomenal. Hits the first scout shot. His teammate Alu will take him down. Notice Sapphics gets one back with the USP, and you can see they're just going through the motions right now, just making sure they trade out frags, making sure there's great potential there. Every single time, and obviously long makes a lot of sense against the pistols right now. You want to get that range, exploit the fact you have rifles and SMGs, and they're doing a very good job. Giving up one frag, that's Alu going down. Ideally, wouldn't have been him. You want him as much money as possible with the AWP. Dennis might be able to get a kill here, but it looks like his days are numbered. He has got a reload through, but it won't matter. Alexi will take him down. It's going to be 2-0 towards Ence, and we have the full eco coming up here. Dust 2 is Sprout's pick, I should note. And we'll see how they can perform today. I managed to catch Speedy in the elevator. I asked him what his preparation was. They said they didn't practice last night. They spent more time watching demos of Ence and analysing how they play.
So they've gone the counter-strat style.
Yeah.
And not even necessarily
This is what we were talking about yesterday, Matt. The boost over.
Yep.
I said it. I'm not sure if it's a thing. It doesn't look like it is. You can see them
Oh,
all.
they saw them. He saw them. He figured it out. That's
Doesn't really
actually
work.
very clever that he figured that out, because what they were hoping is that Sprout would show no one going B. They'd presume it was a stack on A and then run into a stack on B. So the fact that he spotted the jump is actually very clever.
It's so funny we were discussing that very idea. I wonder if that's viable. Obviously, not really. Maybe not in that particular way anyway. I think it'd be a little bit lower.
He didn't spot them until the third, to be fair.
But then as soon as you spot one of them doing it,
Exactly.
it suggests there's more than one. Why would they send one guy over like that? So they just take the advantage, go towards long and short, plant the bomb. It was a nice idea. It's a full eco anyway. So I think that's just to note. Yeah, they gave it a go. Normally, if you're going to do that sort of play, I like to maybe buy one smoke on the full ecos, then you go for a B rush, just knowing that they might make a mistake, they might think it's a default, and you can get 5 players over there and get a couple of nades in the tunnels and get a rifle. But normally it's still not going to equate to a round victory, because as soon as they get the call, there's 4 or 5 people pushing up, they're going to go towards A anyway. You have to be very lucky to get 2 early frags. As we get to round number 4, the AWPs will come out. Sergey's going to stay on the scout.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, give it a go.
His little bonus.
We'll see whether Safek's AWP will...
Take that back. There was an AK on the ground. He's picked it up now.
There we go. No bonus round for him. He's looking for rounds.
Yeah, and rightfully so. Look, if they want to make this a 2-0 and they want to move into the upper bracket, do it the easy way.
Yeah. I tend to agree. Let's see whether this default works out for Ence. Nothing too fast here. Remember, it wasn't a full investment on the second round from Sprout, so they do have rather good utility. No kits, though.
nato has the AWP. I mean, that says it all right there. That says they were disciplined enough with their money to bring that out right away.
And I think these sort of teams, we've discussed this in this minor, when you're a more tactical team, you perhaps are the underdog in firepower.
Sure.
You want to make sure this is the way you're operating. You want to have all these grenades. You want to make sure your star player has the AWP, for example. You don't want to be limiting yourself and then get yourself in that financial rut and never really stabilize from it. So I like this. It's a good approach from Sprout. And you can see this is a classic Dust 2 default. Hold up for the star for any sort of aggression, bait out some grenades, and make your way towards shore. You can execute from here. Ideally, you want to be flashing off players like nato. It's a very common position, the AWP on the A ramp. You can smoke him out. You can fake out you're doing a B split by just dropping 1 smoke and CT spawn. You can send players down, off towards shore, in towards that area. Plenty of options. This looks like a B split to me, though. They're going to send that's exactly what I'm talking about. So Oleski goes down. And will be dropped, but he's going to be traded out. Oh, maybe not.
Dennis! How did he even get the gun ready at that time? That was like as soon as he could shoot it, and he was dead on. That's a hard shot to hit, believe it or not. Percy's stuck inside of the site, but he has all the information that they're rotating in his direction. Dennis got lost in the smoke as well. That's what cost Ariel, or excuse me, not Ariel, Oleski when he went down and tried to hold off CT.
Now remember, they've got no kits here, Matt, and they are nowhere near attempting a retake just yet. They are going to go for it by the looks of things. They have got smokes and incendiaries. I want to see them smoke the tunnel if possible. There we go. This looks...
Oh.
That looked like it might have
yeah, no. Okay, it
in.
does land. Okay, the way you jump, obviously your head bounces off something at the apex, so obviously that's a set smoke they figured out.
That's how you retake. I haven't seen many teams do that. That's good to see from Sprout. Here they go. They're going to go for it, but Sergey looks too strong right now. My goodness gracious, that was absolutely wonderful by him. Great round, and especially after Dennis made that heroic play towards CT spawn. 1 bullet at the AK before he went down. A nice little passing gift. But Sergey, like I said, the boy wonder, getting it done, so confident, so aggressive, and he'll find the 4-0 and presumably the 5-0 for Ence here, because now it has to be an eco.
Yeah, no question. Deagle's bit of armor. Dennis has it. Hop shot from Alu doesn't land at the door, but Speedy's out toward Long with his Deagle. Big contest yesterday when we saw Long played for just about every single team. And it still continues to be, obviously, the fastest choke point you can get to, but the point of contention on the map. Speedy wants the information. They want it on B as well. Ariel's posted. Good read from Ence. Good reaction to sit back and wait for the pistols to walk into them. That gives them now a 5 versus 2, and it should be pretty straightforward with Cyclone and nato. So, as you say, presumed 5-0 and will be 5-0.
One thing I'll say about Ence is they're very good at the early and mid stages of maps. One thing they definitely do struggle with, though, is closing out games. They seem to change their mentality when they get close to winning. When they get to 13, 14 rounds, they seem to freeze up a little bit. I spoke to nato about that earlier yesterday, and he said it's something they really are aware of and they're trying to work on. He's trying to work with them to realize that that's the best part of the game. That's when you've got full control and you don't need to change what you're doing. You need to focus on what the game plan is and try and not think about the score too much. So it'll be interesting to see whether they've worked on that. I'm interested to know what kind of preparation they did for this game. Were they focusing more on themselves and practicing and getting the teamwork up there, or were they watching the demos as well? Both teams are very good in terms of the general approach to T sides. They like running defaults. They've both got decent executions, especially Sprout. I love some of their plays they've got. And indeed, we'll go for the double AWP setup. Like I said, Dennis, sometimes that is a secondary AWP for this squad. He's going to pick it up with nato. We'll see whether Alu, who is renowned as a Dust 2 master, see whether he can go toe-to-toe with them.
I still like the point about him being fairly proficient on Inferno as well.
Indeed,
tries to fire for the jump.
That's the Xbox smoke. And they're going to straight up rush B here. Dennis misses the jump somewhat, but he still recovers it. It's going to be the first kill for him. And And he actually gets the double here, shuts down the rush effectively. Alexi has no choice but to fall back.
He's gotten away, Dennis, in a few spots now. The shot at CT and as well getting back up on that wall. The first one was swapping a gun. This one just barely getting the timing. Aerial does manage to catch off Speedy, so the advantage they had brought back down to within 1. Mind you, Aerial is taking damage and has taken damage from the early exchange. 6 HP for him. Molotov at the ready, but elevator boost for nato. That puts him further up at the corner than they were ready for, and that is a quick shot as well. The aim is certainly there today for Sprout.
Yeah, that looks excellent. Dennis and Nato, this is where they want to be, that double AWP setup. They know it works. You've got a turret on either side of the map. You can shut down those rushes towards B. You can hold effectively from the A ramp and the car and the site. I mean, he's just actually enjoying himself there. Hits 2 kills, and it will be Alu left in the 4 versus 1. At this point, this is exactly what he needs. Any kills he can find. It's unlikely he wins the round, but if he can cause some damage here and make things a little bit uncomfortable, that would cost him a lot of money. But luckily for Sprout, they keep 3 players alive there, and they post their first round. But I don't think money's going to be a factor just yet for Ence. They've got 3 players in 5 digits. Dennis did fumble to begin with, but recovered very nicely indeed. Managed to get 2 nice kills, push them towards the A site. Alu gets a couple, and they have 1 more full buy available after this one as well. So here's Alu looking for anyone jumping across. Nothing going to get connecting this time. Flashes towards long. That's the taking that spawn.
So, catwalk, Xbox smoke already down. Slow approach this time. Pretty straightforward setup. 2, 1 with the swing at CT, and 2 at A. In going for the swing CT rather than the ramp player or the op toward car, it's easy to overwhelm the op, especially if it starts to miss shots like this at ramp, which means Speedy then gets an awkward position. He can't really go up the ramp if he's not already committed, so he has to fall off to CT. This now means the player at long has an awkward opportunity to either anchor or try and retake. They have to concede the bomb plant. Mid and catwalk going to be exactly where they head. Zevin's aware of it. He's already called it, and they've got 2 players stepping back toward the stairs at Elturn. Cyclone does not need. I'm surprised he didn't hear that to push out. I thought Cyclone was ready for that.
Well, they're still very far removed from this situation. There's still another smoke available for Aerial as well. He's holding towards the CT spawn area, but Alu keeps hitting shot. Alexi holding them off, but time is ticking away now. Do the CTs even fancy this? Aerial will be there on the side trying to slow them down the best he can. Another nice shot from the boys in Ence. It's going to be a 3 versus 1. That's the reset as well. 3 players survived in the previous round. They now have around $2,000 per player on Sprout. This is an absolute masterclass of Entry now. Perfect calling, good setups, good trades. And they're adapting to that double AWP setup as well. More of an execution play there. A little bit faster, baited up the shot. Shoulder peaks, then Alu can come online. So far, so good. It is looking rather easy for Ence. We'll have the full eco now for Sprouts. These sort of rounds, you can just maybe send that AWP in towards B. It has got the best spawn available. That's going to be Alu trying to open things up here, but no one challenging the tunnel. And rightly so. They've only got USPs and indeed no armor.
So Sergey to the tunnels. Again, they'll play slow against the pistols. They spotted the clever boost. That's the second round. Spotted the pushes by being patient in the first eco. And they're trying to spot him again this time. They will get a kill, though. Percy takes down Sergey. Rare that he misses. Committed to the spray and perhaps shouldn't have. They want the gun, but Alu's got the angle and baited out. This is going very well for Sprout. Again, the individual skill has certainly been there. They get an AWP and an AK. They're gone. Back toward the site. This has to go toward A and an A. There's 3 players waiting, 2 of them on the ramp. That could make the nice shot. Alexi, he's got a second and a third. Brilliant. The car shot especially taking down Nato without any damage done. Resets toward the ramp and completely picks them apart.
Well, there we go. It was getting a little bit troublesome, but Alexi stepping up there. It's now the 3-on-2, but Dennis and Percy just want to save these weapons, I would imagine. They'll be holding towards those B tunnels right now, making their way towards T spawn. So one's full eco. It's actually not gone too bad for the CT. They can save at least one of these guns. It's going to be very beneficial to stabilizing their economy, of course. 3 players for Ence. Their money still looking fantastic. They get another $3,500 per player. If the bomb goes off, you get a little bonus. Not much, but a few $100s. Get slightly less if you win the round by eliminations. But yeah, there we go. Full eco. They will save the AWP. They will save the AK.
Yeah, I mean, it's disappointing that you don't win the round after getting 2 kills early on with pistols.
Sure.
But you have to remember you still are with pistols. So as soon as they go away from any guns you pick up, you're still limited in a similar weapon. This was actually really clinical from Alexa. That was super, super nice. But you're right. Saving the AWP and the AK is still a pretty good job, all things considered. Especially when they were waiting for that aggression and still couldn't hit the shots themselves.
I think Percy got hit with the AK as he was crossing over. Anyway, Dennis is going with the AWP lower B. This is a play. He's got players behind him.
Oh, that smoke's going to preserve him for slightly longer than he's due for. Does he spawn Alexa? Head there, but smoke still covers. Ooh. Dennis gets in and out with an AWP. That's awkward.
That was scary for
I
him.
don't think he even knows how close he was to death.
Yeah, indeed. Well, there we have it. nato not going to hit that shot, but still survives. There'll be a flashbang here to try and push him back here. They're going to try and bait out some utility there. They'll probably see an incendiary or a smoke come towards short momentarily. Speedy against Sergey now, and that fight's very conclusive.
That AWP that they saved from the last round, though, catches out Zevin, so already paying dividends. Now to Safix. Back to Catwalk. Alex still up close, can try and get around toward him, but he's... Oh, no! He had the aim and actually reacted away from it. It's like a common muscle memory issue, I feel like, with AWP players sometimes.
Overreacting, yeah.
Well, nonetheless, it's a bomb plant now for Alu as they snuck up long while all of that was going on toward Catwalk. Smoke's still down 2 of them, in fact. Why not? Double up. Toward CT spawn. Works for Smokes, not for condoms. As Dennis and Percy have to sit back and save AWP and AK yet again.
Same save players as Ariel goes hunting. He's heard the footsteps of Dennis head towards T-spawn. I feel like they'll be getting at least one of these players. Percy towards the car. He'll be trying to be baited in here. Alexi's not going to check to the right, I would imagine. We'll see what happens. He's coming. He's aware, and he somehow does. That's fantastic by him. These guys are looking on point today. They're warmed up. There's no early morning cobwebs to blow out here. It's absolutely fantastic from them. I can't really pick holes in their offense whatsoever.
That's the thing. I think it's a really good team approach right now. You can see it. They are all on the same page. The discipline to sit back on against the pistols, etc. I do want to say that Sprout, specifically Dennis, looks like he's wide awake. You want to know someone who's sound asleep? Speedy's got 0 kills.
Yeah, 0-9. It's not really gone well for him. He's been playing long. It's a difficult position to play. Usually, obviously, getting rushed. And I assume Sprout have got the kind of anti-rush grenades and the Molotovs going. But it's a difficult spot, especially against when Sergey's working out on the default. He's one of the hottest aimers in this entire tournament. So going up against him, Speedy, not a renowned fragger. He can be decent on his day.
16-years at this event.
That's mental, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's absolutely wild. And I love that. I think it's great that CSGO is bringing in these young talents. People are trusting them to be part of these teams and give them a go. And obviously these are free signings as well. There's no $100,000, $1,000 buyout for these guys. Get them on, get them in the experience and mold them into something great. It's a difficult prospect for Orcs to think, well, do we really want a 16-year-old within the ranks? But when they're this good, you definitely do. And he seems like a mature kid as well. So wish him the best of luck. Got a very bright future ahead of him. I'm sure nato is doing very well looking after him. He's a nice father figure. Make sure he's got everything he needs. But for now, Sprout on the pretty much full eco. They have got a couple of upgraded pistols there, but no armor, no nades. Molotov towards the bomb site, not quite Goose, but you can see this Ence just got everything covered. They're not giving away anything on these anti-EKs. I want to make sure it's an absolute bloodbath. But there should be a couple of kills traded out here. There is a player towards Goose still. They deal with him, though, in the correct manner. Lexi takes down another. And it's going to be Dennis here now, who's with the Deagle. Now got an AK once again. Kind of fancies it, but looks things. Does some reasonable damage. They are tagged up, but how does he get any closer at this point?
There's so much damage done, but they're going to rotate back down towards CT and back subsequently to Catwalk. So Dennis doesn't really have access to the site. As Setchill concede, we're going to go 9-1 for Ence. Again, they save one weapon to carry over, but still, is that enough? Not really at this point. And Dennis backs away. One thing I will say just quickly about the 16-year-olds coming in, it was something I respected TSM for, not that they were 16 at the time, but when they were younger and still in as a newer team that was under that organization, wasn't really winning events, still had some of the issues where they were perpetually top 4. They focused on education and they got it done. Yes. They all, in fact, took time off to get it done, especially at 16, 17. Look, we're not football. We're not going to have prodigies that come out of the, sign massive contracts that would set you for life at the age of 16, 17, like Ronaldo or whatever. Get your high school done at the very least.
Yeah, exactly. I would say get the high school done. If you want to take you don't have to go to university.
It's summer right now, obviously.
Most young people take a gap year, right?
Yep.
So that's absolutely fine. If you want to try and play CS, give it a year, see what happens to you. If it doesn't work out for a year, then maybe consider going back to school. But either way, opening pick from nato Safix. That's much better. As Alexi makes his way through, trying to get that trade, trying to react quickly, surprise them. But this is looking much better now. Cyclone will chime in as well, 5-on-2. At this point, all Ence can really hope for is to damage the economy further. X7's burning to a crisp there towards middle. This is much better. That double orb setup is very powerful for Sprout. They just need to maintain it. They need to make sure they can get consecutive rounds here. But this is looking like a clean sweep. So even if they got reset, they'd still potentially have one more buy. It's up to Ariel now to do what he can. He has got the smoke, Molotov, and flashbang. 2 players waiting around the corner for him. Where can he find any sort of damage?
That's the key, damage, because reset. It'll be 4 rounds pulled back. Double op was very expensive to buy into. He'd love to get that away from them. They're being very patient, and they'll spot that Molotov being thrown as well because Percy's playing behind the box. Dennis in the window responds. Not a single kill, clean sweep. That'll give them one more round at the very least.
Indeed it will. But the problem is we've got $16,000 on Alexi. So still a lot of work to do. Oh, this is a nice idea. We didn't quite catch this. That's a really cool little boost. You throw the smoke, and usually you can, if you throw the smoke close to the doors, you can go at the back, but it's a really obvious angle, and the T's can just flick up. But that kind of smoke looks like it's slightly one way with the boost. So that's a cool little idea. Here's the smoke again towards Xbox, and Dennis really wants to force the issue here with this AWP. He's tried this a couple of times now. Needs to be careful. As Alexi's already made his way up towards shore, but Dennis and Speedy now firing on all cylinders. They're hitting their shots, they're finding the kills. Now it's another 5 versus 3, and they're not done just yet. Looks like Dennis still wants to find more here. If I'm honest, I'm his coach right now, I'm thinking, it's this full back, dude. We've got a 5-on-3, but it's going to work out perfectly by the looks of things. He's going straight up for this. Nice work, and he'll get the bomb down there as well. That's round guaranteed. They've got the bomb isolated in the
I think Dennis has realized he's got to continue with good form throughout this game because a lot of his teammates aren't there. Speedy got 3 kills on the board in the last round, or 1 this round, 2 in the last, excuse me, but still, he's getting there now. But Dennis is still, I think, been impressive in terms of his aim, and obviously aggression now being a part of that. As Alu will rotate back, not only will they avoid the reset, they're going to keep 2 straight rounds, potentially, I say. I think Alu's, going to change that now as he finds Dennis with a good, healthy margin of players alive. I'll count my chickens before they hatch. Bombs in front of Alu with a chance he can get toward it, but good position from Percy. Cuts him off, and Sergey, 41 seconds in a 1 versus 4. Looks like a 3rd round for Sprout.
Indeed it does. They're looking much better now. Alu trying to make his way through. If he finds that kill, the idea was that Sergey's heading towards top and middle. Alu will get that kill, and that might force a rotation from short or middle, and Sergey is waiting to get those kills. That's the only way they could really win the round. So that was a nice idea, at least. I think they've got another couple of buys still. Yeah, 12k on Alexi, 9k for Sergey, so they're still fine. But starting to drop off now. Sprout find their first consecutive round, and Ence will take a timeout. 9-3 overall. This is the best of 3, the first map. We have 3 games in total to bring you today. The next one is going to be rather delectable as well, I would say.
Optic versus NIP.
That's going to be a big one. Optic have looked, to me, like the most dangerous team here in terms of raw firepower. Yeah, okay. I feel like they've looked pretty wild in that sense. The most, I think Ence looked like the best overall package in terms of the team, but in terms of firepower, I think Optic are up there. So I think that's going to be a really good game. Hopefully, NIP can show their best face today and make it to the majors meanwhile. Good luck to them.
Dennis, top of the box, will start to push in. Again, start to push in.
I like this from Dennis, though. When he was in Mouse Sports, right, we're playing with Nico, he would have never made these sort of plays. You know,
he was the one that suffered the most, I think, with playing with Nico. I remember talking to him at various events, and he was often frustrated by it. Not so much faulting Nico, but just annoyed that he was stifled a little bit, I think, in playing with him, and that they played around him.
It's working as well.
Yeah, gets away with another one. Alu goes back over the way. This funnels them. Flashes and smoke's going to cut off 2 players at CT, though, so they were a little bit early to rotate, despite Dennis's position and information. That means there's no one really on A, despite that they have the man advantage.
That's absolutely true. So they'll go for the retake here, but the short plant is down. That's going to be like 10 seconds before they can even really commit to trying to get this bomb site taken down. We'll see whether Sprout are going to split towards long as well. They've got 1 player there. That's going to be Cyclone, waiting for any sort of flanks coming in. His teammates will join him, but Speedy, CT spawn. It's Alexi and Ariel waiting towards short, and they still have 2 Molotovs now. This could be very difficult. Alu's got another one. He's holding towards short. He want to Molotov that right now. There it is.
I think exactly. He's going to do spawn. The fact that Alexa pushed up, he's going to play the corner, bait in his teammate, gets the kill himself, but now they know Cyclone's coming up from ramp. Good play from Alu as he turns around. Too much given away, I think, early in the round from Sprout despite the first kill. I take it all back because they've still got this down to a winnable situation, but the time is too far gone, surely, as Alexa will run back and stay alive, as well as having one other CT go down. nato at least keeps the AWP.
After losing the first pick, there's Ence making their way through. As soon as they got information that A could be a little bit more vulnerable than usual, they managed to get that short plant down, 5 versus 4, but the utility usage was so perfect there. He can save those Molotovs to the post-plant situation. It can be very powerful indeed. You could see how stifling that was for the CTs as Percy gets tagged up as he crosses over. He's down to 47 HP, and nato's being tagged as well. Alu's done around 100 damage this round, but he hasn't got a kill. Dennis again in lower B. This guy is not messing around today. He's going to get his kill as well, not quite. Nice idea, but finally shut down. He's trying to not show Ence too much respect. I think that's been the problem. We've been letting them run their defaults and get away with absolutely everything. But as long as he keeps them worried that could be a potential, maybe they've still got a chance. Speedy's behind everyone here. A game of cat and mouse. Can he find the second kill? Not quite. Ariel takes him down. Percy, the last line of defense. But Speedy did a good job just to delay that B split coming in. Flashbang through. X7, though, brings it into a 3 versus now 0 as 3 quick kills come in there. Nice B split. Good reaction. Alu knows he gets that opening pick. It's going to split up the defense. If there are 2 players towards B, they've got to fall back. They've got to help out the mid area because the kill has gone down. Ariel's looking fantastic. Look at that aim. Look at the awareness going on. Spinning around like an absolute turret there. Brilliant.
Solid. Ence 11-3. Not much left over from that cash they had earlier. Down to 2 M4s. UMP, CZ Deagle. Cyclone's already out toward long again. So now it's going to be found by Alu, and Sergey adds a kill to it as well. Ariel back down to the underpass. Watch for Speedy. He's still on catwalk and can do damage if he catches off the AWP, especially if he baits out a shot with that CZ. But the shot he baited went straight through him. As Alu gets the kill and drops to CT, it looks to be a 12-3, half.
Yes, I think you might be right there. Looking way too comfortable in this particular round. I liked Sprout's adaption. They did have some promising rounds there. Unfortunately, just not enough of them. Managed to stabilize money, but Dennis will get 1 kill here. At least that gives him an AK. 3 on 2, no kits. They both have to head towards short, and there's still 3 Molotovs, 3 smokes for Ence. There's almost no chance they can retake this. That Molotov goes in, they just have to push it, I'm afraid. They have to go for it, boys, and that's going to be a little bit detrimental to them. The Molotov's perfect there. What a absolutely amazing half by Ence. Win the pistol, get the 5-0, control the money throughout. As soon as Sprout win their first round, the hard reset comes in. Alu looking like a beast as ever. Only got 10 kills, but some of the openers he got and the way he's doing damage for those mid doors, very impactful. Of course, Ariel. What an absolute demon he was in Dust 2. Everyone was chiming in. There's only X7 that was slightly behind. Ironically has 7 frags. And we'll see Dennis at the very top. I think he was the only player really adapting to what Ence were doing and causing a bit of a ruckus there. This looks like a B rush, and it's up to Sergey to defend it. That's not good news for the boys. Sergey is deadly, and it's going to be the first shot from X7. Nice crispy headshot. Sergey not missing a beat. Kills still coming in for the CT, so they've dinked up another one. And that should have been a kill for X7. They're surprised, but there it is. Alu makes up for it. Now a 3 versus 1. It's up to Dennis now. The strongest player so far, but can't hold on map. It will be 13-3.
Yeah.
We talked about Ence struggling to close out games, but this one shouldn't be an issue. They're pretty much guaranteed round number 15 from that particular victory there.
Yeah, it struggled yesterday, obviously, as we saw. They didn't quite, or 2 days ago, I suppose, sorry, excuse me for them, but didn't quite make it through the group at the top. Optic beat them 16-14 to get that free pass into the playoffs, but still did recover. There's been a number of teams that have struggled to close out games here, including NIP, as we saw yesterday against Red Reserve.
And Kingwin.
Well, Kingwin was the obvious one, but yes. But I was trying to keep the context to those that are still in the playoffs. You're right, Kingwin absolutely was the obvious one.
That was mad, wasn't it? What a day. Never seen anything like that. Back-to-back sort of comebacks as well. So what the hell? Anyway.
Yeah, 15-8 and 15-6 in each of those games. 15-6 successful. The 8's not so much. 16-14 that ended. But Dennis will get his deagle out toward middle again. I say again, in terms of his positioning and aggression, he's the one to be forward. Zavin's still on the other side of the wall and should catch Dennis off. Hard to say. Shoulder shows. If Dennis stays silent, he will spot him first, and that's exactly what happens. I thought he might commit to the peak, but he was confident enough that CT was going to be clear, rightfully so. Finds the opener. Sergey wants to respond. Percy spotted, but shoulder baiting the MP9 nearly made it interesting. As all of this happens, Alu and Sergey control the situation by getting kills as required. Still, though, bomb could get to B.
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to just book it in towards the side, but Aleski looking to shut this down over aggressive, though, over commits.
Didn't need to do that.
And this is what we're talking about, Ence, and then this is where the troubles could begin. Now a 2 versus 2. Ariel comes in quickly, trying to deny the plants. And at least stops it going down, and there it is. Finds the kill, but still, this is possible. Oh, dinks both. They're low HP, and unfortunately, the timing not working out for Cyclone there. That was really their only chance to stay in this game. I would say they have to buy here again. You can't allow Ence to get to 15 rounds so early on. You pretty much have to go for this with Deagles. Let's see whether they want to do it. Otherwise, go full eco and try and get 12 rounds in a row on T side of Dust 2. That's what they've opted for. For most teams in this position would just go for it. It's not really realistic to try and grind out 12 gun rounds, but there you go. It's not really a correct decision.
Smoke to buy time. He's going to stay there, actually, and fire into it with the MP9. Alu gets a little closer as well with the M4. Give it a noise. Ooh, I don't know that he needed to jump around the corner like that.
Yeah,
not with Alexi already backing off.
Yeah, they didn't have to go for that, absolutely not. But sometimes you get the Bloodlust map, you know, his Glock,
Yes.
no armor. And this is what can happen. This is where if you lose your concentration, things can fall apart.
The M4, if I'm not mistaken, is actually still up there, is it not? I don't think it fell down over the ledge, so I'm surprised they haven't got it. Maybe it did.
If they lose this round, they'll be gutted. See if they can them off.
I was going to say, I'm surprised they haven't got a gun at least for those 2 kills, but seemingly that M4 has evaded them. Nonetheless, Ariel, good shot from far. He's going to swing in as well as they're distracted. Inside of the smoke, finds them, denies the plant as well, which means less money as we head into now the potential last round. Map point, and they make up for it again from Ence.
You look at the frag charts right now. There are 3 players for Ence on 15 kills. There is Ariel on 17. X7 slightly behind at 11, but that means all 5 players are contributing, looking good as a unit, and that's why they've got themselves to a 15-3 scoreline. No one's dropped off. Everyone's committing to their role. Dust 2 just seems to be working out very nicely for them. This team is dangerous. Like, if you're going to get them in a tournament, you want to be watching the damage, you want to know their tendencies. They've got a lot of firepower, and they've got a good understanding of how to play the game as well. This is a bright future for a young team here, and with Alu at the helm, who's looking not better than ever, but as good as he ever was.
I'll agree with that. I think there's been instances where, oh, look at this, Ariel. Shoulder? I thought he saw his elbow. I thought that's why he looked back down. Instances where I think his peak's been higher, but consistently right now, yes, he's as consistent as he ever was, for sure.
I was so worried for him when I saw this lineup announced. They've done a finished team before. My God, Sprouts at least get an opener there. Nice reaction from Nato. He gets a double as well. They're going to need 12 rounds in a row to take us to overtime here. At least it's a strong start to kick things off. I mean, this is a bit of a bonus round, though, from the CTs. They did keep their SMGs up, but still. Alu to save the AWP here. Alexi on the UMP. They're trying to kill that. Might be able to upgrade to an AK-47, I believe. Was that?
Yep, was, but gone now. Alu, the only one left. He'll run back with the AWP and try and save. Should be fine in doing so. Sprout can't really afford to chase themselves. I guess it depends how you want to look at it. Because there's not a lot of money for Ence. The op's important. Alu's only got 150. They're going to win the round. It's map point anyway, so if they lose a round, it's not like they lose their money. You could argue that they'll still be able to buy having won this round, but they've got a little bit of utility. They'll want to upgrade to more smokes, more flashes, rather than just keep buying back into the AKs. So they concede the op. I could have justified the chase, but still map point and a lot of them to work with for Ence. Now to Safix, checks mid again, and this time fires upward toward the smoke.
Alu's doing the same boost they were doing on the Sprout side. So this is like quite a common idea now. It's a really cool one. Boost behind the smoke in the mid doors. And you can see Suicide, you can see towards T-Spawn. It's actually a really nice little idea. Anyway, This will just be the eco, of course. Ence not trying to close this one out now, just trying to save that orb the best they can, cause some damage if possible. Alu's in CT, and there's a gap in the smoke, so really need to be careful here.
Well, they managed at least to pull one kill back, but you're right, pistols looming, getting closer as well. AK gets a kill against Alu. Good shot on Aerial and Speedy. Better late than never, up to 10 kills now. Percy the one behind on 5, but it's another round for Sprouts. Could have been awkward, I suppose. So too, a lot of anti-ecos from Ence were awkward to start off this half. 15-5. AWP again on Speedy.
Speedy's got that spawn as well. It's one of the few spawn-based maps. Mirage has some elements to it as well. But let's see whether he can open things up. He has been given the orb. He's going to have to just fall back. He's taken a lot of damage for it. So we'll give the orb back to nato.
There was no one there anyway, but I don't like the flash in that situation. You almost want the player to be at the corner. Common angle, pre-fire position. You don't want him hiding. Percy to the tunnels. Early damage goes against Speedy from the Molotov that was deployed in the long cave. Naturally, he's given the op back over to nato. Nato Sapphics versus nato. Nato and nato.
nato Sapphics. nato, for anyone who's aware, he's the coach of Ence, former Counter-Strike legend. He's not going to be the full-time coach. He's just standing in while his team's establishing themselves and working out where they want to go. They'll bring in a more analytical coach at one point. But either way, there's 6-7, shutting down this B split. He might get a couple of frags here. Not quite, though. One more player left on the B site, and that's going to be Sergey going down. We did mention it. Ence do struggle to close out these games, and Sprout looking alive and well in the last 3 rounds. That's going to be a save call now for the CTs. Can't really justify going for this one. Alu looking for some exit kills here towards the B. So far, so good. Sprout just need to take this round by round. We know Ence and a lot of other teams here have had troubles finding that 16th round. Just talk to Red Reserve, they'll tell you all about it. On this particular map as well, they had one of those epic comebacks against Kingwin. They were 14-6 down, I believe, and they came back and won the game in overtime. Pretty wild.
Shot out. Good find from Percy. It was very wild. This would be equally, if not more so, given that it was 15-3. So it'll be a 3rd round in a row for Sprout. The save is important. They only managed to keep 2 of the guns. This economic turmoil is often what leads to these incredible comebacks from T sides. nato, that's not a bad spawn for a guy that wants to probably pick mid.
I think you might be right there. Let's see whether he can pull it off. It's not going to be the force buy here from Ence. They're just trying to keep calm. They say, right, let's just get the money. Let's get the orbs out. Close this properly. They might go for the double orb themselves. And this is going to be a straight up beat rush here. And there's one player to defend at the moment. Sergey with the USP. He won't be there for very long. I don't think his teammate will be either. As they might just fall back here. X7 with the USP as well. That's going to be the round. But maybe they can find a few kills here. Want to be saving these M4s once again. Aerial and Lexi with armor. A little bit of utility. So just holding onto those M4s would be their main objective here.
Yeah. Again, same reason. I mean, you can't afford to let the economy just completely fall to ash.
How you keep open the window of opportunity a little bit further for them. If you keep force buying, you give a 1 CZ and 4 M4s, no kits, and you just keep doing that, and you think, well, someone's going to find a couple of kills. We'll close this out. Stay calm. Wait for the full buy. Take a couple of full eco's if you have to. Right now, you just need 1 round. And there's no reason why you can't get it. You've got a lot of space here.
Yeah, if you're off sequence, or if you aren't to a maximum loss bonus, usually better to call in these situations when you still have a massive lead. Call the early saves. Be conservative.
Now, there's an idea here. The problem with closing out games is there's the philosophy of, do you just continue doing what you know works, or do you want to make a play, surprise them, and close things out, right?
Yeah.
And that's the difficult...
Famously, just to go, I think TSM did that way back at PGL when they rushed overpass pistols toward the fountain, right?
And
just,
you saw NIP yesterday when they were struggling. They just went for a fast A approach, right? And nothing was working. Their defaults weren't working. They couldn't close that game out. They just went for a fast rush A out of the apartments just to close it and get right got those 2 kills. Aerial will find the frags required. This is looking much better now, but still fighting back is Percy. 3 players remain. They did take a bit of damage there for the incendiary. Stayed around a little bit too long, but for now it's a 4 versus 3. Remember, like I said, get that double orb setup going. That's exactly what Ence have done here. But it was Ariel who's played, I think, the best game of the tournament so far for him. He's on 20 frags, looked fantastic, carried them in lots of high-intensity situations.
Crazy to think as well with the state of Virtus Pro that they were still in a major final in 2017.
Yes.
The final against Astralis is another great example when they changed the pace to rush and train.
Exactly,
and
right.
it's another one that caught them off.
It's when, yeah, absolutely. That's probably the most famous example at the, which one's it? Atlanta major for E-League,
that's right.
That's when Astralis won their first, and it was Glaive who made the call. He could see the defaults and his stars were dropping off. They were losing their confidence in the default strategies. So he calls, right, everyone we're going to be rushing outside main, drop these couple of flashbangs, and everyone's just going to use their aim and find the frags. And that's the kind of adjustment. You can feel things kind of like stagnating almost, and you found yourself at a plateau. That's when you need to. That's when the best in-game leaders come to life. That's when they'll realize what they have to do.
Great recovery. Alexi still on the catwalk. An advantage now for Ence to try and close it, and that's added to as they cross in the smoke. Sergey times it and nails the bomb. Not only that, the carrier as well. Now, Sapix had left in a 1 versus 3. He's got time to work with. Not much of it at 14 seconds, but wants to bait out a player from catwalk now. He'll put a Molotov down to try and buy himself some space, but he can't because there's a Molotov down behind him, so he can't plant, and that brings Alu back around the corner. 16-7, Ence take map 1. And Sprouts, fair enough, a little bit of life late, didn't have much in it. Credit to Dennis for giving it the absolute best effort he had.
Well done to Ence. We said they struggled to close out games, but that was calm. They didn't seem like they were panicking. Sure, they lost a few rounds, but Sprout have been playing some very good T-sides this tournament. They managed to keep it together. They managed to take the ecos, and Sergey and Ariel, great games for them. Alu as well, looking good as ever. And I think Sprout, it was good for them. That second half just at least show they're still there. They're still in the game. It wasn't a complete stomping in the end. They managed to get 4 rounds together. And Matthew, that's the end of the first map. We'll be moving on after this quick break. Do not go anywhere.